All right, and we are live. Welcome again to episode 14 of Narrations and Lamentations with Mittierim and the boys. As always, I am Mittierim. With me are the boys, Skip and Michael. And and as our special guest tonight, we have Dylan, aka Woopywomp. So Dylan, if you want to take a minute, since I know your channel is just getting up there, I may have some subscribers that you don't yet. If you want to sort of tell everybody what you're about real quick and intro yourself.
Okay. Basically, I started on just doing Warhammer Weekly with Nick from Long Island Wargaming, so I'm trying to get that started up. I also started a painting motivation league called the PMP, if you guys ever want to check that out. I do videos for that where we just review and give critiques, and we have some awesomely talented people on that site as well. So that's pretty much what I've been up to, and most of my channel's been dedicated to.
Okay. Well, awesome. Thank you for joining us. Tonight he is going to be acting as our guest as we discuss the vampire counts.
Woo!
So before we get into that, let's go ahead and just talk a little bit about what's been going in our hobby world this week. Michael, what you had on your table? What's up with you?
Well, the Dragon Princes are done, but there's a lot more of them to do. So, you know, that I get a bunch done, and then I have nothing done, and I realize that there's so much more to do.
So, on a percentage, how much of your high elf army do you think is completed?
Probably 25%.
Okay, that's not bad considering you've been working on them, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Give or take. All right. So Skip, what you got going on this
Yeah,
week in
they're
the
about
hobby?
3 weeks.
I have been working on dwarves. In fact, I have made a promise to the PMP to have my 30 dwarves done by the end of the month, and I'm at dwarf number 11 now.
That makes me happy. So happy. Skip, you need to join and post up your dwarves so we can have some more dwarf love.
I have. They're on there.
All right. And so I assume what with all this dwarf love, it's making you neglect the peasants?
Peasants are next month. I scored those a really cool deal on some battle pilgrims, so they're going to be my army of next month I'm going to go back to.
Okay. And Whoopi, what have you had on your table recently?
I've pretty much just been customizing my own Warriors of Chaos army. I'm trying to make like a Crusader Warriors of Chaos army based on warriors without anyone worshipping chaos, and making its own fluff about how that came to be and how these people from the north hate the warp and why they're crusading against it. So I've been buying a lot of custom models, been converting crap, trying to come up with some cool, neat ideas to fill in. So that's pretty much been taking up a lot of my time. That, and I have like 3,000 points worth of dwarves I'm trying to refurnish and re-put together.
Awesome. Sounds like a lot of work to get done.
Oh, it's fun.
So as far as me, I am continuing work on my Warriors of Chaos army. I have completed my Chimera, which will make its debut in the next battle report we're doing, which should be out in the next couple of days. We already did the game. It was an absolute fun, just crazy, Chaos United fight. So Michael actually got the chance to play with my Chimera for the first time before I did painted. But
Yeah,
and what I'm going to be working on next is Lord. Speaking of things we learned from Lord Tremendous, Lord Tremendous, for those of you that watched last week, sent me an amazing converted chariot to join my Warriors of Chaos army, and I've got that primed and ready. As soon as I get some free time, that's my next painting target, is to get him done. So a lot of work left to do.
Is that the game you guys were playing last night? Because we were doing the PMP with Alicia, and we could hear some yelling and some laughter in the background. Sounded pretty
Yeah.
fun.
It was a good game. It was very well. It was very exciting. It was a lot of back and forth, and it was 10,000 points of models on the table. So
And right on.
it's pretty awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into tonight's topic: the vampire counts. For those of you who've never seen the show before, we're going to go through and rate the army on 3 facets: mechanics, how it performs on the table; fluff, what you think of the stories that the army tells, the special characters they choose to use, etc., and fun. And this is going to be fun in terms of, for 2 of us, myself and Whoopie, whether they were fun to play, and with Skip and Michael being our outsiders, they're fun to play against. So that'll give us some kind of baseline to discuss. So, Whoopi, as our guest, we always give guests the floor first. So, what are your ratings?
I feel so honored. So, mechanics first, how they work together.
Mm-hmm.
Synergistic-wise, they're pretty awesome, I would have to say. I would give them about an 8, because mechanic-wise, they work together pretty amazingly, I'd say. That's the whole point of them is if they can't synergize, then you're going to start losing. So I feel like that's the main point of the army is it working together like that.
Okay. And Fluff?
Fluff, I'm totally biased on this, I think. I don't like the new Codex Fluff as much as the 7th edition, but I've read a lot of the books. I love Nagash's Fluff. It doesn't mean anything towards the game. Just love Nagash and the whole story behind him. I'd give it a 9 or a 10. I like the fluff behind him. It's really cool.
All right, and general fun for playing the army?
I haven't played an Undead Legion yet, so I would go with a 7. They're fun to play, but the whole thing about the mechanics having to be together like that, if one of those gears breaks, then your whole army just falls apart pretty easily.
Okay. All right, so I guess we'll go next to one of our non-players. Skip or Michael, who wants to go next?
Go ahead, Michael.
All right. Let's see. Mechanics-wise, I'd say definitely an 8. Kind of like what Whoopi said, is they've got that big synergizing, but at the same time, that synergizing can cost them big if you go, hey, your wizard's dead, and now your entire army, or not wizard, that's Tomb King's, general's dead, and your entire army crumbles.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah, which makes it, for me, fun-wise, a 9 easily, because when I break one of those little cogs, it is beautiful just to watch that army just, and there's 10 dudes gone from that unit, and 10 from that unit, and that monster's gone. It's fun to watch.
You just like seeing people cry, man.
You know what?
It happens to me all the time.
Whoopi, he talks a big game, but I can't remember the last time he actually killed one of my generals.
I don't know when I've killed one of your generals, but I'll find. You know what? Now we have to get a undead versus dwarf, so I can go kill your general.
All right, we'll set it up then. All right, and Fluff?
Fluff-wise, I haven't read much of their fluff. What I have read, they're vampires to me, so they're gonna get an 8 out of that because I've read vampires before, and they do the same shtick all the time.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I'll go next as the other vampire player. Mechanics, I think they're a brutally strong army. So I'm going to rate them 8 as well, although I'm actually going to say it's less for synergy. I don't necessarily really see them as all that synergistic an army, not anywhere on the terms of like the Empire or the Tomb Kings or say even the Skaven. I think they've got some amazingly powerful choices that can really run roughshod over your opponent pretty much by themselves. I mean, Terrorgeists are amazing. Your Blender Lord is freaking out of his mind. You've got options for very powerful casters, both in terms of vampires or Master Necros. Stuff like a group of the Vargeists is ridiculous. Big bricks of what are they? The Crypt Horrors. I mean, there's a lot of just super strong units that can just go in and crush face. And then they get ethereal. I mean, they have the biggest hunk of ethereal in any army, and that by itself can totally rock the face off of an unprepared opponent. So I definitely think they're strong mechanically. Fluff, I have to say that has actually changed drastically since the Nagash book came out. I was not a huge fan of their fluff. I thought for the most part the Van Karstein dragon line or vampire line was kind of boring. And it really, I really didn't think much of it in general. However, the way they've been writing Vlad von Karstein in the end time stuff is freaking awesome, and I'm hooked on his story above. I may not give a crap about the rest of the Tomb Kings, or the Vampire Counts, rather, but he's awesome. As far as fun goes, this is where you guys are going to have to help me out tonight. My sense of fun in them has been flagging. I think when I first started them, I might have rated it a 7. But I'm at a very low point in my interest of them right now, and so I would have to say my interest level and my fun level right now is about a 5.
I
don't
think I would have to understand that, because I feel like they're one of those first start getting into them. They're extraordinarily fun. They have all these new choices and neat things that you don't get anywhere else that you get to explore and try out. But after you try them out, they can get a little boring if you don't start experimenting a bit. And that's where the synergy for me comes in. Like, there's a lot of little things in the book that help each other out, that if you find ways to put them in there that you can experiment with without going with the ordinary routes of just smashing their face. And the magic itself is very utility-wise for synergies. So I can understand where your fun level would wane from that, because mine did too. But like I said, I haven't played the Undead Legion. I could see that kind of initiating my fun level in it, just because it's like, whoa, this is new, yay! I could change it up a bit.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll talk about this more after Skip gives his points, but I think it's none of that stuff that you're talking about that's the big problem I'm having. It's the fact that I'm not really used to playing armies with useless core, and so there's just no good core in the army, and it's like I'm just taking this because the book has to tell me I have to take this. And it bores the crap out of me. But anyway, let's get on to Skip and get his ratings before we get too deep into this.
Okay. I kind of think that the vampire counts are eh. I mean, they are a strong army to play against. I don't have fun when I play them because I don't have an answer for them. So personally, I really don't want to see them on the table. When they're on the table, they look cool. The models themselves are awesome looking. The Coven Throne, everything like that. There's very intricate models, but as far as playing them, I mean, you have to fight through core that really doesn't mean anything. And once you get to the Vampire Lord, he's going to destroy you unless you take him out early. So to me, it's no fun. Fluff-wise, I think it's very. I don't want to use the word sterile, but I think it's predictable. The end of times things have changed it a little bit, so that kind of raised the fluff for me a little bit. Overall, I give the fluff about a 5 now with the end of times. Before that, I would have given it a 3. Looks wise for the army, I'd give it a 9 for the looks wise, but playing against it, 2. I don't like it.
Okay. So I mean,
I don't like it.
Yeah. So that may very well be part of the reason why, personally, I'm having less fun with it, because the people I'm playing with aren't having fun with it. But so let's go ahead and delve into that now that we kind of know where everyone is standing. Before we get into the questions, I guess this was what I was going to pose to you guys. I'm not having fun with the VAM counts. And to be completely honest and upfront to all my viewers, were it not for the fact that Alicia my wife, for those of you who don't know her, has forbidden me from doing so, I would have traded them already. So the question is that I pose to the group, knowing that I have to keep them, how do I make them fun again? How do we make a game that includes the vampire counts enjoyable?
I guess for me, what I did, like I said, I started reading really deep into like the different items they have and the different combinations you can use with them, because once you start stirring the pot a bit, it makes it a different type of army. There's stuff you can do like that armor that negates all makes everything in close combat with it attack last and negates their special weapons and stuff. You can do some neat shenanigans with that. All the vampire abilities you can do stuff with. I mean, just the mixtures of lores itself. There's fun stuff you can do. You can do leadership bombs. There you can do ethereal bombs. I mean, there's so many things you can actually do. And all you really have to be worried about is freaking filling up that stupid core, and then the rest just have fun with. I mean, the rest.
Let me interrupt you there, Whoopi. Like I get what you're saying, but it seems to me that what you're recommending is going with all of the shit that makes it no fun for the opponent.
Oh no, not at all.
Leadership bombs and ethereal bombs and the blender to a certain degree is one of those things where it's like, if it's working well, you're holding your opponent's head so far underwater that unless they have the perfect answer to it, the game it's going to be fun for one of you, but not both.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, but I'm not. I guess bomb isn't the good word. You don't have to over skew it. But if you do, I mean, you could be a good opponent and just be like, hey, I'm going to be using an ethereal-based list tonight. And then they could bring magic weapons, and you can work around that. But besides those two, out of the rest of the stuff I mentioned, it's not overpowered in the other senses. I mean, the skew lists are ridiculous. If you want to skew it, that's going to be hard to deal with, or they're going to have the right option to beat it. But there is plenty of options with magic and different ways you can equip your lords and even the vampire abilities that make it fun. The different combinations of lords and heroes, the different combinations of what you take as a special. You can do themed armies. I mean, there's like the ghoul armies, the Stigro that you can go with, have a nice fluff of that. You can have the Strigoi Ghoul King on like a Terrorgeist or something and just have ghouls and great crypt horrors and all that. I mean, there's so much fluff and fun that you can do with it. It doesn't have to. I think the problem most people have with it, though, is you're right. The ethereal part is really, really frustrating for a lot of people. It's just you have to find an even balance where you can have fun with it and you let them know so they can have fun. I mean, if people aren't having fun against the armies, that's a different perspective, then, isn't it, a bit? Because then you have to ask, well, how can I help them have fun with me playing this army instead of how do I have fun?
So let me give you a chance to take a breath there, Whoopi. So Skip, obviously you are having the least amount of fun with this army. You rated it as a 2. Mm-hmm. What do you see as something that could change about, in general, how I play the army that might make it a more fun game for you if I were to pull out the vampire counts against you?
The first thing that I thought was god-awful was the undead lore when you're using it against vampires. Not only do you have the ethereals that you have to deal with, if you're playing the undead lore, for magic, you can crap out more ethereals than you can handle, and you don't get points for them. So you're spending 3/4 of the game trying to beat your way through, and by the time you're there, your troops are halfway gone, and then the vampire lord walks up and cuts your head off. What fun is that?
Okay, well, given the fact that I've sworn off of the undead, or the undeath lore, what about my sort of normal lists would you see changed to make the game more fun? considering the stuff I normally take. Like, what would you change?
I know you kind of have. I mean, if you know that going into it that your big target is going to be the Lord, I mean, but to save him, you're going to have to make him a dick list. I mean, a dick vampire. I mean, a Blender Lord. That's the only way. I don't see there's any balance. I really don't. I've been kind of sitting here thinking about it because I knew you were going to ask me that question, and I don't know. I mean, you could probably put a bunch of Vargeist on the board because I love the walking bats. You know, that would be fun to play against. Maybe I don't know. That's just because I love the model so much. But
Well,
as
I am
far
getting
as
some of those I'm getting 3 of those for Christmas. I know, so maybe that'll help.
okay, that moves it up to a 2.5. So, but anyway, you know, I don't know. I mean, I wish I could enjoy it more. I just don't. And I don't know what you could do to fix it. I don't think you can fix it unless you go with one of those crappy lists. And then it makes it even less fun.
I
Well,
guess
the problem is, I think the problem is I have such restricted core because I don't have the buses of like a billion zombies to do the heavy necro zombie bus list. So I mean, I'm kind of stuck with what I got to a certain degree. And it's like I don't know how many different builds that aren't just absolutely god awful really work with the fact that my core is primarily ghouls and dogs. I think I've got 20 or 30 zombies painted and another 20 that are unpainted, which I probably could get to. And then I've got some skeletons, but I've essentially got to split those between skeletal warriors, which I usually use with spears, or the what do they call them? The grave guard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've probably got maybe 60 of those split between the two groups. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard, I guess, for me because I don't have a Mortis engine. I won't have Vargeist till Christmas. I only have 3 Crypt Horrors. It's like, other than the Vampire Lord, I don't really have... And I put my Vampire Lord on either an Abyssal Terror or a Zombie Dragon most of the time. I don't really have a good, like, hitting unit, so it kind of gets old because I'm having to rely on those Blender Lord characters, the sort of the hero hammer thing, to make it work. And I'll be honest, a Vampire Lord on a Zombie Dragon with the Night Shroud on him is going to basically blender through just about anything it touches. And I can see where Skip is coming from in that there's not, unless you have the right answer to that, there's not really much to do with it. And it can take the fun out of the game. So
Yeah.
you've been pretty quiet, Michael. What do you think, man?
I'm kind of with Skip on this. I mean, yeah, the Blender Lords get old really quick, but there's not really a way for you to make a Blender Lord to be... He's an okay Blender Lord. You don't get those. You either get he's gonna get shot in the face one turn and just instant die, or he's gonna be unkillable. And so you don't really get the in between ground of him being fun to use.
I think it sounds like we're in an impasse here.
Well, you gotta look at it. The army that I play, well, I've been playing most against them, is Bretonia. You have to go into vampire counts knowing you're going to grind. You're going to have to grind, and Bretonia does not grind very well, or very, very poorly at best. You know, so that's one strike there. You know, it's going to really be hard to grind through what's already there before you crap out more. And then once you get to the Blender Lord, you know, unless you got a Lord that has a heroic killing blow, and you get lucky and roll that 6, you know, there's really no answer. So you could play the avoid game and just try to take out everything else and try to avoid him, or you know, you're just stuck with what you have there. Now, maybe now that I'm starting the dwarves, I'll have a little bit more time. I have a better army that can grind things out a little bit better. Maybe that'll do it. I don't know, but Right now, again, I just don't like seeing them across the board, other than the fact that they look cool on the board itself.
Yeah, Skip.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and tell you. The dwarves are made to grind, so you'll have a little more enjoyment of that because watching zombies and everything pile onto the dwarves and just try and outgrind them is pretty funny.
I agree with that. Dwarves are awesome against undead. Bretonians have a lot of trouble with them, so I don't blame you for feeling that way about that. I would say, I guess, how much is this? How much is the new Nagash book affecting your guys' opinion on this? Because for me, I could see it if you're playing with the book, it increases what you guys are saying. But if you're not playing with the book, I think it evens out a little bit more.
Yeah, no, we haven't played with the book at all, other than the few test games we did of the Lore of Undeath. And I mean, at least for my point of view, I'm not buying the new models to put Tomb King stuff in the vamp counts. So I've been playing pure vamp counts, and I'm pretty sure you've been playing pure Tomb Kings, right, Skip?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we really haven't used Nagash at all.
Yeah.
Other than the now always 50% Lords and Heroes bit, which I think makes the vampire counts kind of brokenness easier.
That's what I'm pointing to. Like, I feel like a lot of the conclusions drawn from this is like the overuse of the 50% rule, because with that, vampire counts are awesome. Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. You can do so well with them, and it doesn't even have to be one lord. You could have just pockets of heroes doing crap for your army that is just bad for your. It just so I can understand that. I can understand frustration to playing it, but it's also one of those things. It's in comparison to other armies. I mean, you're gonna have the same problems against chaos occasionally. It just comes to the same mechanic level. How do you make this fun for everyone and not just for one party? And that's kind of just the part of the game itself. And if models are the problem, that can be a problem too, because I can understand wanting to play with the models you have.
Yeah.
For my brother, he didn't like playing the vampire accounts, so I used a lot of stuff that people didn't use naturally. Like I did use Vargeist because I like them. I used the Mortis engine, and I used a lot of like bat swarms. And I mean, not to be bad, but just as a tactical use. And I use skeletons all the time. I feel like they're the perfect middle ground. They're semi-survivable. They won't die as fast as either, but they don't do as much damage as the ghouls. So it gives you nice ample breaks and stuff. So
Yeah.
I understand where you guys are coming from.
Yeah,
So.
I think that's why I use it. Why I use skeletons more often. But just to interrupt here, I want to put a comment from Vince Venturella, because he's actually commenting on what we're talking. First of all, he says that he specifically got an earlier flight today just because he couldn't miss out on the greatest show on YouTube. So thank you for the kind words, Vince. But specifically, he says, as far as fun against, the vampire counts have some serious strikes against them. His advice would be to steer into some fun ways. He recommends going for a vampire count on a Coven Throne. I would love to do that, but my big worry, Vince, is that model is way beyond my skill. I was hoping to get a Mortis engine painted by my wife, but since she's been doing the commissions, I don't want to interrupt her time from that. And the Coven Throne's another one of those. I just think I wouldn't do it well, and it's such an amazing model that it would stick out like a sore freaking thumb if I butchered it. So I've been really hesitant going that way. But he also says bring some skeleton blocks, which is how it works. And he says if Skip isn't running TK, just have them join up. Keep taking the black coach. This is awesome, and I agree. The black coach, again, I have a weakness for chariots, and the black coach is one of the coolest chariots in the game, in my opinion.
It's so underused. I love it. It's so cool.
But yeah, and like I said, I'm trying my best, but still, even those smaller things. I mean, even as cool as the black coach is right now, or is to me at any rate, it's still not big enough to take out the stuff that you have to have a chance, like the Blender Lord, which I think is ultimately causing a lot of the problems. So it definitely doesn't sound like we've got any easy answers to this question, and maybe after answering the questions from our viewers, I'll feel a little better about this. So let's go ahead and get into those. First one, we have Celt of Cairnau, and again, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but he starts off. I think I told. So he says it's his opinion that game systems that allow units that can only be hurt by a limited number of items will always create skews. And he thinks that this game has, with the ability to always wound anything on a 6, has become more balanced, but he believes there's one weakness, ethereal. Should we still have ethereal units in the game that can be affected by so little, or should they just be harder to hit, or have some other effect? Let's go ahead and start with Michael, since he's been pretty quiet. What do you think? Ethereal, yes, no?
I'm okay with ethereal. I think if they were going to balance it, make it to where you can attack them with non-magical, but it always takes a 6 to win. Because then it makes redirecting ethereals just redirectors and not I hold up your 20-man brick forever. So I'm all for them staying in. They just need something to where, okay, only 6s wound them when it's non-magical. Something like that would be okay with me.
Okay. Skip?
Ethereals really aren't the main problem. I mean, I like ethereals. In fact, I've got one with the Green Knight in Bretonia. So I agree with Michael that it should give you an opportunity to maybe wound it or do what you can with it. I don't really necessarily mind ethereals. I just hate the fact that you have ethereals and can summon more ethereals upon more ethereals upon more ethereals. And you actually
only with the lore of undeath, Skip, and everybody can do that now.
Yeah.
I know. But it's again, I play if I wanted to, and I think we talked a little bit about this last night. If I was going to bring a tournament list, I can handle it by putting 4 lance units with paladin walls up there. But this doesn't make sense in my fluff. So we have to look at it because we do things differently on this side of town. That we don't go with the strict tournament lists. We go with more fluff. So that's adding to the frustration too.
Mm-hmm. All right, Whoopie, what do you think?
To be honest, I think ethereals are kind of like the great white whale. There's a bunch of Ahabs out there going out trying to kill the theory of them, but to be honest, unless you skew them, I don't think they're as big of a threat as people make them. Because I've had them to the point where they get eaten down just by running into a unit and the combat resolution dissolves them alone. Because unless you skew them, you're not going to be able to really take out much with them. At that point, with the 50-50 percentile, of course, it can be skewed. It can be skewed before that if you use a bunch of hex race, but then you have magic and it's a huge target. And once you get to that point, we're talking about skew lists, not ethereal itself. Because the ethereal rule is no longer the problem, it's the overuse of the rule, or abusing this rule to gain an advantage, which people do with anything. I mean, if you look at the Demon Prince or any other skew list that's out there that's hurting people and making people frustrated, it's one of those things. So I don't think ethereal's the problem. I think, honestly, with the crappy units that Undead actually has, ethereal is actually one of our most helpful things. It's like one of our cards in the bag. It's like, Spirit Host, this will hold you up a turn until it disappears. Or
and I agree, Whoopie. I think one of the things that makes ethereal potentially stronger than it looks on paper is the general disdain for in the magic phase, magic missiles and image doing cells. I think those are the perfect things to mow down ethereal units, but because they're so less effective against your larger units and in your general game, I think everyone just sort of instinctively just kind of pushes them off to the side. I mean, For instance, a caster of the Lore of Fire will rock an ethereal list. I mean, you'll just blow them off the board, but nobody takes fire because it's nothing but direct damage and magic missiles. It's one of those things with the absence of that rule or that tactic. The stuff that relies on that tactic to beat it becomes much more powerful, and I think that's the issue with ethereal. Now, I don't think that you should be able to hit ethereals on 6s, mainly because we are freaking paying out the nose for them. They're really expensive, and that's actually one of the other reasons why I don't think ethereal's all that great, either in terms of fun or whatever, is that it's really kind of a paper rock scissors sort of thing. Is if your opponent doesn't have the magic weapons, it's amazing and it's going to be game changing. But if they do, then you've pretty much just wasted like 3 times as many points as you need to on toughness 3 bullcrap that's going to get chewed up.
I was going to add something to that too, because that's one of the things I was going to say is people who play the vampire counts aren't worried about ethereal because they realize that most people don't take them in general because of what you're saying. They are overcosted. They're generally not very strong, and it takes a huge chunk out of what you'd be spending to keep your army alive.
Yeah. All right, so let's go on because we've got a lot of questions. So I'm going to have to kind of speed us up a little bit. Second question from Kelt is screaming. Should you be able to scream into combat? No other shooting can. What would we do to fix screaming, or do we feel it needs fixing? Let's go back to Michael, and we'll go down in the same order.
I don't know. I'm kind of okay. It's a unique role for the vampire count, and a couple of their models can do that. I'm not really, oh, this is the worst thing ever, because most of the time I'm playing dwarves against them, and you scream into my unit, or one of the leadership check ones, okay, dwarves. The ones that are like strength 4 versus toughness 4, whatever, dwarves. I guess, I mean, against Empire and Bretonia, toughness 3 armies and low leadership armies probably screws over a lot. But for me, it's never been a huge issue. So I'm okay with it staying as is.
All right, Skip.
No, get rid of it. Being that I play the toughness 3 armies. But no, seriously, I mean, I know it's unique to the vampire accounts, but I think it's one of those things that I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair that they got units that can run over units to do damage without even not in any of the combat phases in movement phase. I think that's ridiculous. I think there's other things you could do. So I'd say sayonara.
All right. So Whoopi?
I just say don't allow it to scream into combats, or don't allow it to freaking scream out of a combat into combats. I mean, that is just kind of ridiculous at that point. It's just, Terrorgeists are so good. It's stupid. I mean, if they don't get damaged early, you can do some pretty serious damage with them. And I know undead players defend them, that's our way to kill things, but now it's not the case because of the 50% rule. And it's just not really fair, man. It's one of those Skaven rules. It's like, they shouldn't be allowed to scream into a separate combat. At least scream into their own combats. If they took that away, there'd be no problem with it.
Yep, I agree.
I don't even know if that's the issue so much, because I don't think necessarily the screaming in or out of combat is the real problem with this whole screaming mechanic, because I think the screaming mechanic is kind of fundamentally jacked to begin with, because it's just another one of those paper, rock, scissors things. Because against the dwarves, big whoop. I mean, the Terrorgeist is the only thing that screams that's going to really put a hurt on them. Against orcs and goblins, or beastmen, or low leadership armies, it's devastating. And it's weird to me that it's based like that. I think, being that the armies are kind of generally categorized along leadership lines. I mean, like with all the other stats, you'll have some variance within the army, except for leadership for the most part. So you end up having your screamers being amazing against the army if your opponent happens to be bringing low leadership, or generally worthless if they're not. And I think maybe the whole mechanic needs to get changed somehow to make it more generally useful, so that it's not either wasted or borderline abusive.
Yeah, because let's face it, the Banshee screen, you have to work really hard to get it to be well, like you were saying, and then the Terra Guys screen is just ridiculously over the top.
And Skip, I'm sorry, I think I actually interrupted you. What were you going to say before I jumped all over you there?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm just saying that you should give, like, if you're going to do something like that, you need to give the other armies that are out there something that is similar. So, for example, what if, my peasants, for example, what if we don't care, we're going to throw our trebuchet into a combat that's already going on? I mean, if you look in warfare, yeah, it happens.
I can
Screw
just
those guys.
imagine.
Clyde slept with my girlfriend last night. I'm going to drop a rock on his head, but I'll kill some other vampires while I'm at it. Things like that happen. So you need to give other armies something similar to put in their bag of tricks as well.
Well, I think, too, part of the reason they allow the screaming in combat at any rate is that the range on it is so terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very short range. The likelihood of pulling it off without being in combat is very small. So I think it's another one of those you need to, need to just rebalance it, because I think ultimately there's some fail there, and I'm not sure how you go about fixing the fail that's there.
I think if it's going into its own combat, that's one thing. Yeah, it gives it something to do. Yeah, that's great. But if it can sit there on one combat, turn around and go, hey, I've got a combat behind me, I'm going to go, into that. Why?
See,
part of the thing I always thought is it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that, like, the scream is like a focused laser beam, like it's this unit. Like, what if you changed it so that, like, Banshee Scream is, like, it affects a 4-inch bubble or something around it? And so it's, like, screaming and everyone close enough to hear it gets hit, but to be able to pull it off, you've really got to be up there in somebody's face.
I can see that working.
One last thought on the ethereal, then we got to move on. So what you got?
Well, I guess I was just going to say, I feel like a lot of people complaining about the screams aren't complaining about the banshees necessarily. They're just complaining about the Terra Guys, and I think we've talked about ways to fix that. It's just a matter of just cutting it down a little bit and trying to even it out. And I agree with you completely that the Banshee scream is just kind of meh, and it needs to be readjusted.
All right, so going on to our number one fan, Vince, has asked a few questions tonight. Question number one. He says he sees from a sexiness problem. What he means is that when the book came out and introduced a ton of new stuff, and then it forced the longtime VC players to either choose to buy all the new and expensive units to be able to compete, or shelve the army in the face of something else. Do you think that Vampire Counts represents the dark side of introducing too much new stuff at once?
Anyway,
chat up if you've got one.
I think they did. And they did it right at the beginning of 8th edition, before they realized that it was going to be completely negated. Because a lot of the stuff they let you get and they gave to you were these huge things that were by themselves with big bases that were just shot down by cannons. And then they gave you some units that you're like, oh, this is cool, we got Hex Race, and then they were just not utilized or overpriced and shot down with magic. So they give you a lot of stuff, but it didn't really do anything in the 8th edition rules. It died. So
Let me ask you something, Whoop. As you're the only one of us who was with this game last edition, what the hell did a Vampire Count's army look like before the introduction of all of the shit that came out in 8th edition? Because I have the old book, and I looked through it, and I'm like, I have no idea how I would build a fucking army with this.
oh my god. Basically, it was the Vampire Lord stacked up with magical upgrades that made the army unstoppable, and then you just had a bunch of ghouls, usually. A lot of people like those in competitive lists. So it was more troop-based, very troop-based, and then your Lord kicked... It was just unbelievable. The Lords you could have in that, if you think the Lords are bad now, the Lords back then were just, like, ridiculous, and you could have it in before the 50 percentile rule. Like, the Lords we have now are nearing the Lords that were back in 7th edition. So you could have, like, a Lord and 3 units of core and some special thrown in there, and you'd just be kicking ass. It was crazy good. It was very overpowered.
All right, so Michael, Skip, any thoughts on this one?
Not me, because I didn't play the last edition. So I'm,
Yeah, I was out there for last edition.
Yeah, I think we'll be willing to bow to Whoopi's expertise on this one and call it a yes. So number 2. The Coven Throne is beautiful. Why don't we see more of them? And I'll start this one off, actually. I think part of it comes to what I was saying earlier. It's an imposing freaking model. I know for those of us who don't consider themselves amazing painters, it's intimidating. I mean, Vince, you yourself are amazing. I think you doing one, my wife Alicia doing one, would make the thing look fantastic. Same thing with the Mortis engine. But I think it's one of those models that is both super difficult and large enough to just be an eyesore if it's jacked up. So I think you've got that side from the hobby side of it. And on the performance side, it's another one of those, I mean, for it to be really useful, you're going to put a Vampire Lord on it. And so it's another one of those, let me put my general on something big so that it can be shot to cannons, which obviously nobody except for us seems to do in 8th edition, particularly with the vampires, because, I mean, one errant cannonball and you've lost the game. Because everything in your army is going to crumble. So that's my opinion as to why we don't see them. Anybody else got something different?
I agree with everything you said. It's an expensive model. It's hard to put together. It takes a lot of effort to put in. And then if you're not using the Coven Throne, you got the Mortis engine, which is awesome and cool, but you have to have 2 of them for like reliability sakes, and it can explode your home army. So and it's on a big base, and cannons are ruling at the moment apparently, and gamey metas. But either way, it's just one of those. It's a huge liability for people, so they choose not to use it. I mean, I have one, but I haven't even used it yet in a game.
Yeah, and I guess that's another option. I mean, obviously the Mortis engine is the more popular of the 2 choices, and if you're buying a $85 kit, I mean, it's something stupid up there. I don't know if it's actually $85, but it's expensive. You're going to make it into the more useful of the 2.
Yeah,
and it's not one of those where it looks like it would be very easy to like magnetize and be able to switch back and forth.
No, it's not. I've tried to do it for a commission, and I fucked up. And I bought him a new one because I fucked up. Because it's rather thin, and I don't know. You know what it is. But,
Yeah.
It's
All
hard
right,
to
Skip, Michael, any thoughts on this one?
I would definitely shoot either one with a cannon all day.
All right, so the dwarf says it makes a good target. There's your answer, Vince. So moving on, question number 3. Should Manfred von Karstein, the shirtless Jersey bro of the VC world, be killed?
Yes.
Abso-fraggin-lutely. Abso-fraggin-lutely. Anybody else?
Yes. Yes, he should. Oh, man. I think he had potential to be a good character, but now it's just, they've kind of raped and murdered him, what he had. He's buried in a... I don't know.
I want Vlad to kick his ass so hard that when he pulls his foot out, Manfred's spine comes with it. That's what I want to have happen.
Is the Von Karsteins the only vampires in the Warhammer world?
No.
Because
They are, however, the only vampires in the Warhammer game.
apparently,
Yeah.
I mean, why don't we just replace them with the numbers? Count the numbers, you know. So anytime that you kill, you hear them go one dead person. Okay, but seriously, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like to see some other name mentioned, you know.
Well, there used to be, as I understand it, in the older game, and back when I played, there used to be actual different bloodlines you had your vampires come out of.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were like different families. And I mean, even now they talk about them a little bit. Like there's the Lamians that are all the seductress vampires. They're the ones who apparently ride the Coven throne. There's the blood dragons, which are the night guys. But they're not very fluffed out. And I will agree with you that the Von Karsteins pretty much eclipse the shit out of them, of every other one.
Yeah.
So.
The Van Karsteins were my least favorite choice in that whole book. I mean, and it was so cool that you could have those different bloodlines. I think they just neutered a big part of the fluff.
Yeah. Well, I think they could have kept it if they had made the vampiric powers more flavorful.
Mm-hmm.
And replicate it, but it's really more just here's powers.
Mm-hmm. And then try to get them in some way with characters or units.
All right, well, let's go ahead and lead into Vince's last question since we already started on this. He says, who is your favorite special character in the VC, and what special character is missing? Should there be a skeleton, zombie, direwolf, vargulf, etc. special character?
I think Vinny the Vargulf needs to be a special character.
Vinny the Vargulf? Okay.
And Vinny the Vargulf! I like that.
There's a funny story behind... When I had the vampire counts for a short period of time, and I did buy the Vargulf, and I named him Vinny because he looks like one of my friends from college. Seriously.
Wings and all. I mean, it's all. I've seen the guy. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
He's not hungry for blood, though, right? That's a good thing.
Sometimes.
I think I'll go ahead and say that the new writings of Vlad is my favorite VC character. As far as a missing special character, VC is really hard to do a bunch of special characters in, being that like 3/4 of their army is mindless. What are you gonna do? Like, I'm the one skeleton with a brain. I'm a special character, whatever. I would actually like, and this is the new Glotkin stuff. There's one of the big Glotkin guys who gives bonuses to Nurglings, and I think it would be cool to have like a vampire lord who empowers like the bat swarms and the dire wolves and stuff like that. You already have the thing where you can grow them more than they're starting, but whatever. But it would be nice to have one like, I'm the Lord of Bats, and any bat swarm within 12 inches of him, he gets regeneration or something weird like that to just make them cool and give you an entirely different build for the army, which I think is what special characters really should do. And I don't really think that any of the VC special characters do that.
Yeah, honestly, on that point, I've actually thought of something similar. Like, I wanted the beast vampire. Like, he's just completely beast out, and he's kind of like a Vargulf with a mind, and he leads, like, wolves and dire wolves, and he leads creatures of the night. I think that'd be a cool special character, like the one you're saying. And then I also think they should just have the Strigul Ghoul King. I mean, why not have the Ghoul King? You have the name, just create the Ghoul King, the ground lord of like these freaks. You know, he just controls the crypt horrors and the ghouls and has a centralized world. I mean, I don't know, why not throw that in?
Yeah. I mean, I like it. I think they missed a big opportunity with the Strigoi Ghoul King to not make them something different.
Different? Yeah, because you play them exactly the same way. It's the same thing. So I guess if they had a cool special character that would allow it to be different and just allow that side fluff to kind of show more, because that's relatively not played with. But as far as special character, I would have to say Creel is my favorite, just because he's a badass, and he's always a badass even when he comes back. It's just all he is. He just cuts things with his axe.
All right. So, Michael, Skip, what's your favorite? Let's go ahead and go through it quick because we got some more questions to answer as we haven't even started Mitch's yet. Having no favorite is an acceptable answer. So.
No.
Okay. All right. So we're into the last run of questions from Mitch, MC1 Gamer. For those who aren't on a first name basis with him, his first question is directed at Whoopie. Whoopie, how do you prefer to paint your zombies and skeletons? Dirty, clean? Are there any particular themes or methods that you use?
I guess I'll answer the first part so we can save some time. I like them dirty. I like to see them freshly grown. I like the gore. I like them looking fresh. It adds to the fluff of the army. It adds to the just the basic all aesthetics, I think. It gives it a really nice feel. I mean, when you see your vampire accounts, you want the skeletons to look tarnished and dirty and the zombies freshly risen and bloody. And I mean, if you choose not to do that, I'm okay with that too, just as long as you do it well. I feel personally that's my favorite aesthetic.
I was thinking if I did decide to break down and paint a bunch more zombies, I would go really, really simple with it. And I'd prime them all with a spray of Raykarth flesh to get that flesh tone, and then just simultaneously spray Blood for the Blood God and Nurgle's Raw all over them. And they'll just look like bloody, snotty, gross things, and then I'll just put them on bases and be done with it and be like, fuck that, there are 150 models done in 20 minutes.
And then just dip them in gloss, and there you go.
Right, yeah.
Maybe sounds like my other college roommate.
Was it Ziggy the zombie? Ziggy the bar golf and Ziggy the zombie?
Okay, so his next question for all of us, it deals with Banshees, and I frankly think we ran that into the dirt when we were discussing the Screams. We're gonna and actually, the second question we pretty much answered. I think we all agree that the bloodlines from the second. See, I feel bad that like Mitch is always the last one to respond with the questions, so I need to flip them around and do them the other way. Because we always have answered his questions by the time we get to them. Okay, number 3, and this is actually a pretty important one. Do you think that the vampire counts as more effective with the 50% Lords and Heroes FAQ?
Yeah, I think we answered that kind of too, but absolutely gives it a lot more power. Overall, just with every type of build you can think of, it makes it better.
And to keep going with that, since we're all in agreement on that point, he says that now he feels like he can take out a max out Vampire Lord and a stat level 4 Master Necro when he couldn't before, and wants to know how we would do it. Not asking give us your dirtiest combo, but how would we reasonably do it? As for me, I think this episode has shown I don't think I know how to play the vampire counts without being a complete and total dick to my fellow players. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I may start just messing around with the Forbidden Lore thing and just make a bunch of zombie or vampires on fire or something and make them all level 4s to the lore of fire. Just something stupid to see what happens. That actually would be kind of funny, just nothing but shooting in the vampire list. Here's zombies to hold you up, and now I'm just gonna fireball and maybe I'll use
it's completely unusable.
Yeah, it's retarded. I really don't know, man. Right now I'm trying to find a build for any characters in the Vampire Lords, or in the vampires that don't make me feel dirty. And it's weird because it's different from my normal armies. Because my normal advice to myself is, well, hell, I'll put them on a big old monster, make them a big target, and just like run them out there by themselves and have fun with it. And like normally, it makes the armies I play less abusive when I do that. But it almost seems like it's more the case with the vampire counts. Is you've got a psycho blender lord running around with movement speed 20. I mean, so I don't know. Maybe I need to play with more necromancers and ease off on the vampire lords. Maybe just a bunch of crazy ass necromancers. Of course, the other thought I had was like one master necro just to get the lore of vampires, and then a bunch of baby vamps. With the, can you take like lore of, because I would like want to take a bunch of baby vamps with like the changed out lore and give them all beasts, so they're like throwing like triple wild form on zombies and sending like strength 5 zombies into your face or something stupid.
It'd be fun to
I have
do-
no idea, man. And if you have any suggestions, you know my email. Send them to me, because I am feeling so freaking lost with this army. It's hard to describe.
And it's so cool because of the fluff that you designed for your Vampire Counts army is really good. I mean, you're using like old Bretonian knights and things like that to supplement your army.
Mm.
I don't want to say get rid of them totally, because in the fluff they're cool. It's just
Yeah. I just need to find a way where I can play that fluff and enjoy the game. That's the problem.
A lot of it's still me learning too, and I don't want to come across as a whiny dick. When I go against when I'm talking about it, but it does get frustrating. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think everyone gets frustrated with the vampire accounts in the beginning. No one likes them to play them. I found in the beginning, definitely. As far as list building, this could go on forever. I guess Mittierim, for me, what I started doing is I built lists without having vampires. I think White Kings are extremely underrated. They're a very good hero choice, and just now that you can utilize so many different magics and stuff, you can have a lot of fun with a bunch of necromancers. And if you want to do something fluffy with the baby vampire thing you're talking about, have a bunch of lore beasts, and then give like a couple of them like the creature of the night, so you can just summon bat swarms and those dire wolves and stuff. And I feel like there's so many fun combinations you can do that isn't dickish. But me personally, I made a leadership bomb army, which is kind of dickish, and I don't play it anymore. And it can be completely if you don't do it right.
I just had a random thought for an army list. It would be stupidly expensive to put together, but I want to put together Vampire Count Road Rally. Just get whatever the hell you need for core, whatever, because the core doesn't. It'll sit over in the corner and be the fucking pit crew for all I care. But then, like, 50% Lords and Heroes, Necromancers on corpse carts. So there'd be like 8 Necromancers on corpse carts. Give me a black coach. What the fuck? If I want a vampire, we'll put it on the Coven throne. Just nothing but chariots. Nothing but chariots in the Vampire Count's army.
That is great.
Core to be the pit crew and sit behind the lines and just watch how badly I get my ass smoked.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. That just shows how many different combinations you can come up with, honestly.
The problem is it would be terrible, and I would spend so much money on corpse carts.
I mean, zombies are relatively easy to buy, and I feel like you could just use the bits and make some corpse carts out of like balsa wood or something, or even use like dryad bits or something.
What I'll do is I'll just go. I used to be in the Boy Scouts. I'll just go get a bunch of Pinewood Derby cars and put answers behind them. maybe remove the wheels. Maybe remove the wheels, all of them, and have like zombies carrying them or something. I don't know.
like the picture. I love that idea. Great idea.
Oh man, what you have to do though when you do the battle reports for this, you got to have Waylon Jennings narrate it because it sounds like a Dukes of Hazzard episode.
Nice. All right, so last question from Mitch as we'll pull ourselves back from the brink of absurdity. Classic vampire counts question. What do you like more, skeletons or zombies?
I guess I answered it, so I like skeletons.
I agree. I like skeletons, in part because they're awesome and I like the way they look. In part because you can get away with painting less of them than freaking zombies.
And as much as people argue against me, I just throw back if I get cornered. I'm like, Army of Darkness. That movie is what got me into the vampire counts, and I am always going to use skeletons.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Interestingly enough, let me interrupt this question with a story. Alicia and I, for those of you who have seen her on Whoopie's channel before, our first date was actually getting together and painting a box of the Warhammer zombies. And one of the first couple of zombies she painted had like this weird face, and so she named it Bruce Campbell. And she painted it up to look like Bruce Campbell. So I do actually have an undead Bruce Campbell in my Vampire Counts army.
That's great. That's great. Love that.
So, Skip, Michael, you zombie or skeleton guys?
I like
Zombie.
skeletons.
Next skeletons, and Michael's gonna go zombie just to break the curve, huh?
Hey, I like zombies.
I'm gonna put a caveat on mine though. I like skeletons, but I think it would be cool depending on what army. Let's say you're playing the vampire counts and you're going up against dwarves. I would have bought maybe like a little box of dwarves or get them off of eBay and paint them up like zombies. So each army that you face, you're gonna be bringing the undead looking like them. I think that would just look really cool on the board.
Yeah, I do have a unit of that I got of night goblins that are done up like that. They're zombie night goblins. It would be cool to do it, but it would drive me nuts. It's yeah. I mean, if you're gonna have that many different, I mean, we've got 13 armies amongst the three of us.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of freaking zombie.
Yeah.
Guys, let's go ahead and take a look and see if there are any other comments to be gotten, and then we'll start wrapping this thing to a close. Let's see. Come on, load up, YouTube. Stop leaving the people in. Okay, looks like we were keeping up against most of these. Dark CT kind of talked a lot what we were looking at. He said he thought, as far as special characters, like skeletal sorcerers would be kind of cool. A werewolf-like creature, which I think the werewolves would look cool.
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you know what? It just occurred to me for my Undead Road Rally idea. I was bumping around on Blue Table Painting's site, and I think they have 2 discontinued old undead chariots like knit well enough for this stupid idea for like $10 a pop. I may have to do that. I'll have to ask the wife though. She right now, as we're getting to Christmas, maybe I'll tell her to get them for me for Christmas. That might be a good a good middle ground for that. Yeah, that was such a disconnect from what we were actually doing.
It's alright. I love that kind of stuff. That's why. Anyways, yeah.
Oh, apparently Vince says I need the old undead Regiment of Renown from Dogs of War, which had a skeleton and zombie or zombie member of each race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those
You just
are really
need to buy
cool.
those. So either I can buy the current models, or I can hunt down what is most doubtedly a super expensive discontinued model line. Excellent options. Of course, I might do that for my rally race. I'll get all the chariots from the armies I'll never play and just make undead chariots of that
Dude,
army.
You should totally try to make your own out of balsa wood and just see what you can do. I would love to see that.
Oh, I'm so not even skilled at that kind of crap. Maybe I'll go. I'll get. I'll probably get my daughter to help me, and we'll do like popsicle sticks and paste and see what happens.
Just put a bunch of Elmer's glue and just make it into a ball, and then glue wheels on the side. Here you go, corpse cart.
And it's either that or I glue up a little sign that says chariot on the front of it and just stick it on a base. All right, so we've been going on for a bit over an hour now. I think we're all caught up on the comments. I think we're pretty much good on everything. No other questions. So this is going to be episode 14 in the bag. Wanted to definitely thank Whoopie for coming on and doing this with us. I know there are probably a few of you that are waiting anxious to hear the results of the contest. Alicia is still in deliberations on that. She's had kind of a rough day. She was going to go back and review some things and make her decision, but a shopping trip with a 3-year-old and a tiny infant while I was at work today totally hit her like a ton of bricks. So understandably, we're going to give her another week to look over it and give the 3 finalists the attention they deserve so that she can make the right choice. So I hope no one holds that against us, but we will be announcing the winner next week. But again, thank you, Whoopie, for coming on and chatting with us. I don't necessarily know that we did anything to improve either mine or Skip's enjoyment of this army, but we hopefully at least we provided an hour plus of some entertainment for some folks, and maybe I've got a crazy ass idea for a road rally undead army. We'll see what happens. So anybody want to say anything as our parting words on the subjects?
Only if you paint one of the vampires up as like Boss Hogg.
I was actually thinking more like the old Hanna-Barbera cartoon Wacky Races.
Oh my god!
I'll do like an undead Snidely Whiplash and Muttley. And,
oh my god! Not even joking! Take that to a cheek
stop.
Oh my god, make a Wacky Races undead army. That would be hilarious. I would respect the shit out of that. That would be amazing. Oh my gosh.
Alright, so here is my call out. I need to gather many corpse cards as I can get. If anybody has random corpse cards lying around and would like to see the Wacky Races undead, I'll go back and do my research and I'll make it all. But at $30 a pop, buying a shite ton of of Wacky Racers of corpse cards just for this idea would probably get me thrown out of my house by my wife. So I can't do that. Oh, and Vince just sent me an email. The cursed company from the Regiment of Renowned is an absolute steal. He found it on eBay for $145 freaking dollars.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure that's for 20.
Lord, no.
For what looks to be 13 models. So $145 and the jackass is $14 in shipping. God. Freaking vultures.
I remember seeing those back
Yeah. That is stupid. What is it? Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 6, 9. Yeah, 13 models. Yep. 13 models. $145 plus $14 shipping. May I say to, I don't know if I should call this, you know what? I'm going to be brave. Reef told me to be brave. Sentinel_101, you are a bastard, sir. And I hope whoever inevitably pays that $145 that you choke on it. I think we qualified for our asshole of the week. Reef will be proud of us. So
that's great.
it's a great idea. Maybe if folks want to send in, I'm going to be dealing with a stupid number of corpse carts if I try to make this idea work, but we'll see. Maybe tomorrow when I've had some time to clear my thoughts, I'll realize how dumb an idea this is, but we'll see. But all in all, thank you guys for tuning in with us.
Anytime.
It's been fun. Next week, just to give everybody a heads up, we may be shifting the show an hour later. I'm working with William Page out in Hawaii to come and be a guest for us for Dark Elves next week. And due to the time differential, 10 o'clock may work better than 9 o'clock for him. So we definitely are going to do that. The week after, we are going to have Vince Venturella on for Demons. And I think that's all we've got so far. We are going to be taking a break because like Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve falls on Wednesdays this year. But we are planning a big Christmas episode before we take a break for 2 weeks. So definitely tune in for that. And thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye, everybody.
Peace out, guys.